What's something that nobody told you about when you begin your self healing and self loving journey? I'll go first. You are going to experience so much guilt and shame for choosing you over everybody else because you have always chosen everybody else over you your entire life. The day you stop doing this and you begin to choose yourself over everybody else so that you can show up for others because you're showing up for yourself first, will change your entire life, and your confidence will slowly grow over time in a compound effect. Your anxiety will lessen and lessen because you are only focusing on you and nobody else. Listen to that again. What's something that nobody told you about when you begin your self healing and self loving journey?
The way you used to bond with your friends will start to change. If you developed over toxic behaviors such as gossiping, complaining, comparing each other, drinking, smoking, whatever it is, the moment you start working on yourself and you start healing yourself, the way you used to bond, it just doesn't feel the same anymore. You go back to these friends and you can notice, you can see the toxic behavior. And when you stop participating in some of these toxic bonding behaviors, it feels a little off. Like you don't know where your place is anymore. They don't really know how to interact with you. It can take some time to redefine and rebuild a friendship and find other ways and new and healthier ways to bond with each other. But if they're not willing to change and kind of meet you where you are at, then you might have to let them go.
What's something that nobody told you about when you begin your self healing and self loving journey?
That once you heal, you mature a lot quicker. And you will have family members that will be so jealous of you because you are healed, you are more mature, and you are breaking the cycle and you are evolving. You try to dim your light.
What's something that nobody told you about when you begin your self healing and self loving journey? I'll go.
Well, I couldn't just choose one now, could I? So, here's a list. The phrase, you can't heal in the same place you got sick in, is real. And because it's real, the decision to heal can also mean the decision to isolate, withdraw, remove, all of that. Healing gives you a very clear look into the many ways that you play significant roles in the very things you were complaining about. Healing means realizing just how much dysfunction and chaos you surrounded yourself with to drown out your own inner problems. Healing is having to carry with you the person who you were before. And sometimes those memories are kind of rough to look back at. Healing is literally creating a new normal and a new way of thinking and being. And sometimes that shit is scary. Healing means you risk being misunderstood, judged, and criticized by those you love and care about. While healing is fundamental and beneficial, there are some hard parts and some hurtful parts to the whole process that need to be addressed and talked about.
What's something that nobody told you about when you begin your self healing and self loving journey?
The messy part of healing. Like, we glorify the glow up. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what I was looking for when I started to heal, right? I'm a therapist myself. So I was like, oh, sis glowed up. Like, you could just see it all over her, the radiance, right? I wanted that. But I didn't know that you got to go through this messy part of healing, the crying, the questioning yourself, the wondering, like, is your whole life, was it a lie? Because nothing makes sense when you start healing. Like, didn't nobody tell me about that boy? The parts I ain't want to get out of bed, the crying, the looking at people side-eyeing because it's like, this how y'all been living? And then the grief that comes along with shedding yourself of that unhealed version of yourself. Ain't nobody talking about that. That's why I try to talk about it. But like, that's the part I wish somebody would have told me. I'm curious now. What about you? Drop me a comment.
What's something that nobody told you about when you begin your self healing and self loving journey?
That grown adults choose to be the way they are. Like, don't get me wrong, I understand, like, things were different. Let's say maybe 20, 30 years ago, there wasn't the access to understanding mental health and understanding the ways that you have to unlearn certain practices. But adults are very aware of the choices they make. It's just that sometimes they'll make really damaging choices because it's the path of least internal resistance.
What's something that nobody told you about when you begin your self healing and self loving journey?
Frankly, you may have no idea who you are. You start to realize that the people that built you and the foundations that built you actually conditioned you to do things that made you adhere to their expectations and their wants of you, that you've been molded, your entire life. That is positive, don't get me wrong. Some of those attributes and values are things that we actually want and that we want to carry throughout our lives. If you have been allowing other people to live vicariously through you, to have control over what you do and how you think about yourself, if you've been living for external validation, you have been compromising your authentic self to a point where you might not recognize them anymore. You almost have to completely relearn yourself and relearn who you are, what you like, what you want to do, and what's worth putting your time into. Because you didn't have that opportunity before, and now you do. There's a lot of freedom in it, but it is very intimidating to learn yourself and to grow yourself again.
What's something that nobody told you about when you begin your self-healing and self-loving journey?
That healing doesn't mean that your situation is fixed or that things are back to normal or that they're fine. It means that they don't consume you anymore and that they don't have power over you. So for example, I was talking to my therapist and he was saying, you know, I think you've made a ton of progress. I think you're really in a good place. And I was like, I just have to disagree with you because I still feel like such a mess. I'm having all these issues communicating with my ex who's a narcissist, and I'm having still all these negative intrusive thoughts and negative self-talk. And he said to me, you might always have those. Your situation might always suck. Your ex might always be difficult, and you might always have negative self-talk. But the fact that you can stop those thoughts and refute them with truth, and that they don't send you spiraling and ruin the rest of your week, that's the healing. Not that everything gets better and that you magically get back to normal.
What's something that nobody told you about when you begin your self-healing and self-loving journey?
So absolutely no regrets. The good parts about healing are super legit. My life is more peaceful now than it ever has. I know who I am and I can stand in that in almost any circumstance. That's some powerful shit. But nobody talks about all the loss that comes with healing, all of the grief. It starts with wondering who the fuck you are. Because I realized that I was 90% trauma response. Who am I without anxiety and fear? What would I do if I weren't hiding behind all this protective armor? How many years did I waste? How many people missed out on a chance to know the real me? How long did I miss out on a chance to know the real me? And then there's the grief about other people, the people who don't come with you in the healing journey. Because God forbid there are people close to you who are intent on staying asleep. Your family, your friends, your lover. They're not going to understand you anymore. You're going to struggle to be around them because you got your eyes set on those juicy good vibes. You're not going to settle for less.